We are moving along in our reading of primary sources to consider the rhetorical theory of Isocrates, not to be mistaken for Socrates. Isocrates is born after Socrates, but before Plato. However, there is quite a bit of chronological overlap among all of these thinkers. If you look at your timeline, you'll see that Socrates is born around 3 decades before Isocrates. Plato is born 12 years after Isocrates, so Isocrates is sort of in the middle, but more of a contemporary of Plato's than of Socrates. With Isocrates, we have the beginnings of an alternative to sophistical education. Sophistical education, as we've seen, emphasized training for the purpose of self-defense, performance, reputation, competitive skill, and career advancement. Isocrates established a school of rhetoric in Athens that had a permanent location. He was not a traveling teacher like the sophists. And Isocrates represents one of several alternatives that are now emerging to sophistical education. We've already noted that Plato establishes one of those schools. That's an alternative. We'll see that Aristotle establishes another school that competes with both Plato and Isocrates. We can see Plato, Aristotle, and Isocrates as representing 3 different responses to the political corruption and violence associated with the decline of Athens and the Peloponnesian War. The sophists, as we'll see, come to be seen as a kind of sign for this crisis in meaning and identity that results from the Peloponnesian War and the political corruption that led up to it. Focusing then on Isocrates' approach, we can see Isocrates as offering a rhetoric of leadership, of civic engagement, of social responsibility, of concern for the common good, rather than simple self-interest. Isocrates believes that those who must work to speak well, people who have to take public speaking in order to be eloquent, are more virtuous than those who have a natural gift or knack for speech, just as he believes those who earn their wealth are more virtuous than those who inherit it. We can see this parallel valuing of working to speak well and working to earn the money that you have as democratic in their orientation, a sign of Isocrates' commitment to a form of democracy and democratic values. We've seen that Isocrates is a contemporary of Plato. He's interested in responding to the same kinds of political and social problems that Plato is going to address: the corruption of the public sphere, the selfishness of political rulers, the destructiveness of war, and the use of persuasion for self-interested agendas. His educational program becomes focused on the practical skills associated with political leadership, especially skills that can unite the Greek city-states around a common struggle against the barbarians. The barbarians for him are the Persians that threaten to overrun the Greek city-states. Isocrates starts out as a court rhetorician, like many sophists, but after 10 years he rejects this career for a more political one, which is concerned with the affairs of the state and the polis and relationships among the Greek city-states. Isocrates' critique of court rhetoric, or judicial rhetoric, is that it's too selfish, focused on personal interest and advancement, getting yourself or others off the hook, rather than being concerned with the well-being of the whole. Isocrates is concerned with honor, public honor, not merely advancement or even the truth, which is what Plato, of course, will be concerned with. Isocrates believes that oratory should deal with the highest and greatest of affairs, which for him are those involved in politics. Isocrates rejects the possibility of knowing in the absolute sense, acknowledges that humans are always dealing with opinion and perspective. In this way, he is more like the sophists than he is like Plato. Isocrates comes to stress those civic virtues that can unite Greeks in a cooperative and peaceful political relationship. His is a rhetoric of leadership, of bringing people together, of what we today would call bipartisanship, a kind of imperial peace. Isocrates wants to avoid unnecessary antagonism in order that the largest coalition of Hellenic communities, the Greek city-states, can experience identification amongst themselves against the barbarians. There are two interpretations of this concern of Isocrates. One interpretation says that Isocrates offers us a pragmatic rhetoric of unity that enables the good and enables great deeds to be done in the name of Hellenism or Pan-Hellenism. This is a kind of benevolent hegemony or benevolent imperial rule. The other alternative interpretation of Isocrates' political program is as a kind of xenophobic rhetoric of nationalism, Greek nationalism, that enables racist practices done in the name of Hellenic purity, a kind of fascist form of imperialism rather than a benevolent hegemony. Historians and interpreters of Isocrates' rhetorical program simply disagree about whether we should see Isocrates' project as one of benevolent hegemony or one of fascist imperialism. We'll see in the assigned text that Isocrates has both positive and negative things to say about the sophists. I'd encourage you to make a list as you read of the things that Isocrates liked, as well as the things he did not like about the sophistical approaches to education and rhetorical training.